So welcome everybody. Tonight is one of my favorite classes and we're completely changing the way that we do it. So if you've been on Facebook at all, I did a quick 40-second Facebook Live post. So you're in for a treat and I'm going to make you go outside of your comfort zones. So if you've never been to a class before, I normally just hang out up here and teach and try to get you to interact a little bit and learn along the way. But we're going to do a little different tonight. You may have noticed the pieces of paper put up around the room. I have more if we need them. But jumping in, one of the reasons why this class is so important to me is this picture right here. So we actually took this morning. Dr. Ash and I were on one of our conference calls. Every Tuesday we have what's called a cornerstone call, and the fourth Tuesday of the month is the one that's called Balance and Prosperity. So it's the one that completely focuses on family and relationships. So the reason why I chose this picture is there's a story I've been meaning to tell all of you about how this little girl came into life, and why the importance of your brain and body communicating with each other is the most important thing that there is. So if you know us at all, you know that we like to do everything as naturally and as holistically as possible. And it came around week 35 that little Brenna decided to flip the other way and wouldn't go back. So we did everything. We adjusted her. We do the same adjustments we do with hundreds of women that we've helped have their babies go head down. We did acupuncture. We did, you name it, we tried all of it. And none of it worked. So we went, well, I don't really understand why it's not working. And in my own personal prayer about it, it changed in the middle of it one day, and it said, and it wasn't get her to flip, it became apparent that there's a reason why, and just to trust in the process. So we always have to trust in the process, whatever that faith is that we have. So it turned out that Dr. Ashley is incredibly unique. She actually has what I call a unicorn uterus. And she told me I could share this with people, so it's okay. So 0.4% of the population has this. It means that only half of her uterus formed when she came into life. So she literally only had half a uterus, which also means that about less than 50% of those babies actually make it or make it to term. So in the moments before going back for the C-section that inevitably happened, her water broke. So everything was perfectly set up and ready to go exactly the way it was designed to, and it was designed beyond my own understanding, which often happens in life, right? So thinking about that, the doctor said, well, you've x-rayed her, you've done all these things, what are called midline issues does she have? So, like a kidney that didn't form, or a vertebrae that's weird, or something like that. And we realized that a couple of years back, she had a car accident, we did an x-ray, and her L3 lumbar vertebrae is easily way bigger than it's supposed to be, easily 150% of the size that it's designed to be. So we kind of went, well, that's interesting, I wonder why that happened. Well, if we come over to this little chart over here, and we see where L3 goes, L3 just happens to primarily be the reproductive organs. So somewhere, that vertebrae got damaged, don't know when, it formed differently, the nerves worked differently, and ultimately her uterus worked differently. The bright side of this story is she got adjusted. She did all the right stuff the entire time. So while less than 50% of these pregnancies even make it, let alone the fact that she could get pregnant is a miracle, perfectly healthy baby, because she was making sure that mind-body connection was at 100% every step of the way. So that is exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. That's why it is so important that people understand this. And really what we're going to work on tonight is I'm going to teach you a little bit about it, and then I'm going to have you teach each other about it. Because if you don't know how to share this with other people, then how many stories like this wouldn't have ended up this way, where the person just simply couldn't get pregnant, or they miscarried, or they had a child that didn't end up very healthy at all, because that system couldn't communicate and couldn't do what it's designed to do in the first place. Unfortunately, we hear that kind of stuff happen all the time. They don't always know why the problem happened, but if there's not great communication between the source and what it's trying to give information for, it's not going to work the way it's supposed to. So I woke up this morning, and actually this is the first thought that came to mind, which is kind of interesting because usually it's like it's morning already. But it was, tell me and I'll forget. So in class, I normally stand up here and tell you things. Show me and I may remember, show you on the screen, and involve me and I will learn. So Benjamin Franklin's a pretty smart guy. We can all agree to that. But this is the first thing I thought of, so I thought, well, that means that I need to do something different in tonight's class than we've ever done before. So I always tell you, I always try to get you to interact a little bit. It's something that Dr. Ashley is way better at than me. Maybe you just like her better, I don't care. Either way, I like her too. But we're going to do a lot of the involving part tonight. So everyone's going to have an active part in learning how to share this story and how you can help other people understand why it's so important to get their spine checked, regardless of their age, regardless of how they feel, because if that communication system isn't happening, we know that every single subluxation cuts 60% of your life's potential, or 60% of that nerve function from your body, which means every single person who's not sitting in this room, who has not gone to a chiropractor, is very likely walking around living life at 40%. And who wants that? Right? No one would sign up to say, I want to go through life living at less than 50% of what my creator designed me to do. The only way to be sure that happens is to make sure your brain and body are communicating with each other. So that's where the safety pin comes in. So one of our goals and one of our principles that we stand upon in this office is we want everyone to live to their God-given potential. That's different for everyone. Whatever that happens to be, we want you to be able to experience that. Most of your faith beliefs in the room are probably similar to mine, but we know that we're designed to be healthier and have more vibrant and more abundant lives than we could ever possibly imagine for ourselves. So imagine now if that's supposed to happen and your body's working at 40% or less of what it's supposed to, how far away you're ever going to get from having that life that we're supposed to have. It just simply can't happen. That's why chiropractic is not about neck pain, not about back pain or headaches. Yes, we're great at that stuff. But really what it is 100% about is making sure you're living at your God-given potential each and every day and every minute of that day. So why is it important? So everything starts up here. Actually, it starts above that depending on your beliefs. But anyway, we know that all the information for our entire body is in our brain. Everything is there. We have about 100 trillion cells in our body. This brain controls and coordinates every single one of them. So that communication is incredibly important. So this is where the funny story about Cox comes in from yesterday. So he asked, is the internet working yet? Is the phone working yet? Well, the answer is yes, it is now. But when they left, the voicemail wasn't. And they never checked to see if it worked. So I love to have the opportunity to connect with people. So what would have happened if someone tried to call after 6 o'clock and before 2:30 today if there was nobody here? The phone would have just rang and rang and rang. Or essentially, there was a subluxation blocking that proper communication. So I sat here till 8 o'clock last night on the phone with Cox trying to get that communication again. So whether it's in your brain, if it's in your body, if it's a computer system, whatever it is, if that proper communication isn't happening, things aren't going to work the way they're supposed to. So everything does start in your brain. It comes down through your spinal cord and goes out to every single area of your body. So one of the things that we've used in chiropractic for a really long time to help explain how this works is the safety pin. So when you think of a safety pin, what do most people think about? Besides me going too far. There we go.
Holding something together.
Holding something together, like a diaper.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I think of the safety pin, I think, like the cloth diapers and the safety pin's holding it together, or clothes, or, if the button falls off your pants, you might use a safety pin. So they have importance, but there's something that's even more important than that. So this safety pin, if we pretend that this, we'll pretend the image is flipped, but if this is the brain where all the communication comes from, and it transmits all that information down through your spinal cord out to every single cell in your body, and we'll pretend that this little piece down at the bottom is that given cell. If that communication is solid, everything works great. Everything works at 100% exactly the way it was supposed to. And every 9 months or so when those cells are replaced, they're replaced exactly as healthy or healthier than they were before that. So then that cell, we'll pretend that cell is all the ones that make up your stomach for the moment. So then that cell communicates back with your brain. So how many of you know someone who's suffered from acid reflux or ulcers? Right? It's something that's pretty common now. So what is the medical version of how to treat that? So they give you some kind of pill to do what? Reduce the acid in your stomach. So what if I told you that they actually know that most acid reflux is a direct result of not enough acid in the stomach? So the brain never gets the signal to the stomach to close that little flap that's supposed to close it off, because your body is working really, really hard to try to digest that food, so some of it gets shot out. Yet they give you a medication to decrease the acid in your stomach. Seems kind of counterproductive. So going down that road a little further, if your body can't break down the food it's supposed to have in the first place, then we don't even get the nutrients we have. We have malnutrition, which is rampant. People are massively deficient in some of the most essential nutrients, and that is absolutely a different class. So I'm going to reclose my safety pin and get back on track. So imagine everything works great. Your stomach knows exactly when you eat. It gives you the signal that you're full. It knows how much acid to produce to break down that kind of food that you're eating so that you can absorb all the nutrients and be healthy. That'd be awesome. But what happens if we put a break in that system and your stomach can't tell your brain that there's even food in there? What happens? We continue to eat. So a lot of the population in the world now is overweight or obese, because that signal is never getting back to say, hey, there's enough food here, let's let you know to stop eating. So there's two versions of it. It's either we don't produce enough acid to break the food down, or we continue to eat long beyond what we actually need because the brain and body can't communicate with each other. And that's just one small system. So the same thing works if it's an ache or a pain in the body. It's why so many people think of chiropractic and think of, you know, back pain or sciatica or migraines, whatever it is, because that's a miscommunication within the system itself. So your body gives you a symptom of the problem. So most of you know this, but how do you think it's possible that we can live life at 40% and feel okay? That's exactly it. Only 10% of our entire nervous system could even tell you if there's a problem. That means there are millions and millions of people walking around with a broken safety pin where that communication can't happen properly, and they feel perfectly fine. What's going to happen 20 or 30 years down the road for that person? Yeah, they're going to have all these symptoms. They're going to be that person, and I used to start this class with a video of two people. One is in a nursing home, one is not. That's literally what's at stake here. Because if you let your body slowly break down for decade after decade after decade, you're going to end up incredibly unhealthy, needing someone else to help you be healthy. And this was a perfect example that I had in my own life of my two grandmothers. So one of them was in a nursing home. She passed away a few years ago. The other one, right around the same age, still lives in her own house, still runs her own house, has her own garden, does all these things because she learned along the way to make the lifestyle choices to respect her body's design so it could communicate properly. So it's not just show up to the chiropractor when you have a problem. This is literally a lifestyle. It's what we try to teach here. And that's why in just a minute we're going to break apart and kind of practice this whole safety pin thing. Lindsay and Tori are here to help. I let them know they're going to teach class tonight, but I didn't really make them teach the whole thing. We also have Dr. Paul in the back, who's also a chiropractor, so he could help, and probably Cynthia could help too. So we got it. But if we learn how to tell people why it's so important, and not just because they're hobbling around or have some outward symptom that's stopping them from enjoying life, we can help them actually have a more abundant, more prosperous life. So the statement of desire, the purpose of this practice, is to help inspire greater abundance. And what better way to do that than make sure you're not living life at 40%, but you are living life at 100% exactly the way you were designed to from day one. And that doesn't matter if you're the average person, the first time they see a chiropractor is 47 years old. So imagine 47 years of potential breakdown. We have patients, the youngest one officially was the one in that picture. I adjusted her at 20 minutes old. A cool little story about this is she was crying, her APGAR scores were great. She was like an 8-9 or a 9-10 or something. They said, awesome, she's great, even for a C-section baby, everything looks awesome. So I was holding her, waiting for Dr. Ashley to come out of surgery, and because I'm a chiropractor, I started to feel her spine. And I realized that the nerves that go to her diaphragm, or the vertebrae that go to her diaphragm, actually felt like they were out of place because she was in this stuck breech position for weeks. So I adjusted it, and her cry tripled in volume the second I adjusted it. Now, what would have happened if that didn't happen and she went through her whole life with a diaphragm and lung system that wasn't working as well as it was supposed to? You can only imagine, right? Yeah, it could have been major problems. But so we often tell you the instant you get adjusted, you're healthier in that very moment. And that was a great representation of that very principle to me, because if I didn't even move my hand from that vertebrae from when I adjusted it, her cry tripled, and everybody in the hospital kind of went, wow, that's so much better than before. What happened? So, well, I adjusted her. So when we talk about the safety pin, and I'm going to go grab one because I meant to have one. I'll be right back.
Where's the big one? That's what he's calling it.
All right, so what we're going to use the sheets for, I got it. So what we're going to use the sheets for is someone, and we're going to break up into groups of whatever makes even numbers. You guys can figure it out, make friends. We're a community here. So can draw a safety pin. It's not that hard. It's an oval with 2 circles. We can all manage that, I think. And then we're gonna spend a few minutes kind of describing what this safety pin and what it means to you, so that you'll be equipped with the tools when you try to share the importance of chiropractic with someone, to not have that conversation of, well, I feel okay, so I don't need it. It has nothing to do with how we feel. It's everything to do with how we function. So using this as our great example, this is your brain, this is every spot in your body, this is when it works great. So we use that stomach analogy, or the stomach nerves. When that safety pin breaks, it doesn't mean that there's no communication. It just means there's 40% or less of the communication that should be there. that's minimal. That's before symptoms even show up. There's a 40% or 60% decrease in that function. So if symptoms are there, it's probably, your body's probably working even less than that. So every time that happens, whether it's from the brain to that part of the body or from that part of the body back to the brain, it instantly cuts that proper function from happening. And think about the crying for a moment. She was crying, her scores were great, the pediatricians were super happy with how healthy she was, but her lungs were still working a lot less than they were supposed to. And the instant that got reconnected, everything worked exactly the way it was designed to. So most people say things like, well, kids don't need chiropractic care. That was a brand new baby, 20 minutes old. And we had an opportunity to fix that before it turned into a problem like asthma or whatever it could be years and years down the road. So we are going to break apart. I have fun colors. If you like colors, you can choose them. There are 3 sheets up. I have a lot more. So who are going to be my safety pin drawers? Ooh, Cynthia's got one. Lindsay's got another one. Somebody says not me. All right, that's for you. All right, so I got 2. I have 1 more piece of paper. Who else? We're going to play. Going to happen. Tori's up.
You guys don't want me to draw.
And Dr. Paul. So I'll put 1 more piece up. So say hi to somebody you don't know. Make friends.
Big one for Bonnie.
And we can move chairs. I'll put
You
another
want a
sheet
big
up in the back.
one?
Yeah, big safety pin so we have our example of it. I'll put 1 more up in the back. And that is what we're going to do for the last few minutes of our class.
I don't like peanut butter.
All right. And for everybody watching at home, do this and post your picture of it.
Boom, safety pin. Set 2
One
circles
more
in
in
a
the back.
oval.
Which is the hook?
Here you go, Dr. Paul. It's got sticky on the top. Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
Here's my hook.
There you go. Awesome.
Somewhere
So
in there.
first run will be those who are either chiropractors or chiropractic assistants. We have the perfect number for the number of pieces of paper we have. And then we'll all just play and have fun.
Awful, Tori.
I
She said you didn't want her drawing one.
It's okay. Actually, that's pretty good. No, it's fine. I hope.
Yes. Is yours broke?
Should it be broken?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it can be a non-broken safety pin.
She had to go fancy.
All right.
We have circles with lines.
Everybody up, let's play.
What are we playing? What are we doing now?
Find little groups of people and do your stuff. Hey, everybody. Yay. You're on Facebook Live. That works. So Lindsay is going to do this for everybody. All right, Lindsay, you're up. So how would you describe the safety pin cycle to someone?
So, the safety pin. When it is closed, that means your brain and your body are connected and everything is working at 100%. But when it's open, these would be your subluxation. Therefore, everything is not working at 100%. Your body is not getting the connection that it needs.
Awesome. So how do you close your safety pin?
Chiropractic.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good.
All right.
I get to follow Lindsay.
You get to follow.
That's tough.
Come on, Super CH.
All right, let's see. All right. So the safety pin represents your mind and body connection. Like this would be your brain, and this would represent the nerve flow to your brain and the rest of your body. Okay, every nerve in your body flows to your brain and through your spine. Okay, every nerve in your body. So if you're subluxated, it's like the safety pin being open, and it can't hold on to anything. It also can't allow the information to travel either to your brain or from your brain to the other parts of your body. But by getting adjusted and having that subluxation fixed, then the nerve flow is returned to that cycle. And you live in a better
100%.
position.
Awesome.
100%.
Here's the really cool thing about the safety pin. It is so simple, you can't even do it wrong if you want to.
You really can.
All right,
Open or close.
Dr. Paul, your turn.
Basically, everything in the body starts with the brain. Our nervous system governs every single function in our body. Impulses that start from the brain go down to all the tissues in the body. It doesn't matter what that particular tissue is. And then there's a return to the brain where roughly 10 trillion impulses per second pass through the cerebellum of the brain. That's your body telling the brain what's going on. And if you break that cycle, then you're down to you're just not working with what your body was meant to do. And the sooner you get that corrected, the sooner you get that connection back together again, the faster you're going.
Awesome. Great job. And if nobody knew Cynthia's the artist of the group, can't really see her on the video, but that's okay.
I'm putting a belt on mine.
Safety pin has a belt. Her safety pin's a person. I'm going to get a little closer so we can see her safety pin. There we go. All right, so how would you describe your safety pin person?
Okay,
To
this
someone
is
who doesn't know.
actually me. So here's how I'll describe my safety pin person. Prior to being exposed to chiropractic care, I really had no idea how much better I would feel because I had no basis for comparison. And so what I noticed is, in addition to just having more energy, is I had much more mental clarity. My mind felt just 40 to 60% better. I mean, I just felt like I could think better. Because then you're not focusing on these other, I mean, to me, the spiritual part of it's really important because you're not focusing on the pain so much, which gives you more real estate in your mind to focus on healthier things. So.
Awesome. More real estate. I like it. It's true. 6 trillion more pieces of real estate, in fact.
6 trillion.
It's pretty good.
Per second.
Per second. That's awesome. All right. So who's going to play next? I'll put this over here so it's not like zoning in on you. But, you know, I can do that with these guys. So who's next? Nobody.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. I knew somebody would play.
You got
Okay,
it.
it's Johnny.
I'll get it over with. See, that's the way you look at it.
There you go.
Get it over with. Okay, when I first came here, this was what I looked like. Broken. My safety pin was so out of whack, it wasn't funny. I'm 62 years old, I was having pain in my foot, pain in my hip. And other than that, I felt pretty good besides having a fat belly and not going to the gym like I'm supposed to. But anyway, Dr. Steve has now pretty much closed my safety pin because I have no more pain in my hip, rarely have pain in my foot, and nerve damage. So my clothespin is almost closed.
Awesome. Nicely done.
Well, I can
All
try
right.
to go, or
Yeah.
So we'll give a real life testimonial of the baby. So a little backstory: he was born, I guess, due to the X-rays and plans that we did with Dr. Steve and Dr. Ashley. His hips were crooked like his father's. So it was 6 months old. We went to the pediatrician, and he was still not doing too well. Would scream. 10 minutes, just scream. So I asked them, I was like, is that something to be of concern? They're like, oh, no, that's fine. I'm like, I don't think that's normal at all. So I came upon Dr. Ashley, and literally the first day he got adjusted, he started crawling. Yeah. So just scooching across the floor, no problems with tummy time. So that just showed his safety pin was obviously open from birth. Just like Dr. Steve said, there's definitely a reason to have babies adjusted. And now his safety pin is closed, and he started walking at 9 months.
Awesome. Great. Nice. Anybody else want to play? No, I'm pushing comfort zones today.
I can try.
Okay, awesome.
You have to, I have to stand.
You don't have to stand, you can just do it. I'll just stick it over here and. You don't have to stand.
I'm new to this chiropractic office. I haven't been to a chiropractor in about 1.5 years, and I was seeing a chiropractor for the first time for several years. I went for migraines and cluster headaches that were quite debilitating, and the headaches and stuff went away, and then magically I noticed over the course of 3 years I stopped generally taking medication completely, which I was on acid reflux medication for 10 years, and I was taking all kinds of Tylenol and you name it, Aleve, those making my stomach worse. that like even the acid reflux medication just made you feel terrible in general. Like just taking pills just make you, they have their own side effects, even though they're supposed to make you feel better. So I ended up taking a break after I felt better. I just thought, well gosh, I'm just feeling so good, I just don't need to go, my problem's solved. And then I just started feeling miserable a little bit at the time, and you really made a great point. I apologize, I don't remember your name, but you do lose a little, I call brain power, because your brain's busy thinking like, man, I hurt, I feel terrible, and I really do. I'm a firm believer in chiropractic, and if you're not functioning properly, your spine's not straight, then your body's not functioning like it's supposed to. I had been off of acid reflux pills for a year, and my allergies came back. That's what it was. Started taking allergy pills. Gosh, no, I've had those since I was a child, and I had asthma and everything else, and all that stuff just magically went away. I just didn't realize how great I was feeling until it all started coming back after taking a break, and I will never take a break for as long as I live. It's just, you just feel a lot better, period. I don't know.
That was great, thank you.
Sorry, I was a little long-winded.
That
I get
was
nervous
awesome.
around
That was
people.
awesome. Love that. No? So, if you just don't feel like doing it in front of a group of people, some people don't like that, and that's okay. We also have this awesome opportunity that we're starting to do in our office of video testimonials. So if you want to do one, they have little cheat sheets up front where we can actually help inspire people that we don't even know to get checked, because all of your stories are unique to you. And it could be your story that inspires someone to get their spine checked, which, as we've been talking about, is literally something that's going to change and save their life. So your God-given potential comes from above, down, inside out. This is one of our basic chiropractic principles. And that above can either be the above between your ears or the above, way above your ears, whatever that happens to be for your own faith beliefs. But we know that the concept of above, down, inside out is really easy, right? It's not the solution to it. Well, the concept is simple, sorry. The solution is easy. How hard is it to close a safety pin? Not the big one I had, that's kind of tough, but a little safety pin. It's pretty easy to close a safety pin. And the thriving through life, instead of just surviving, is way more fun. So one of the things we also strive for is to make every experience in our office to be simple, easy, and fun. Because if something isn't simple, easy, and fun, how likely are you to keep doing it? You're not. Especially something as important as making sure that your body is working 100% for your entire life, so you can have the God-given potential life that you're supposed to have in the first place. That's why we do what we do. So thank you those who went out of their comfort zone and shared. Think about this when you're sharing this with other people, because we all know people who are not here. And every single person on the planet needs to have a chiropractor and needs to have their spine checked. Because if they don't, they have no way to know if they're walking around at 40% of the life they're supposed to have. And that's just simply not okay with me, and I hope it's not okay with any of you. So I hope everybody has a great night. You learned some great tools today. Next week I won't put you on the spot quite so much. I just wanted to see what happened. So you played, and it was awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.